Welcome my students, welcome to the part 2 of the chapter, that is Regional Kingdom 1. Now please open page number 13 and we will be talking about Deccan. Now what was the area between Deccan? Yes. So the area between Deccan was between the Narmada and the Krishna river. It is known as Deccan. Okay. Now the first regional kingdom that we will be talking about here is Rashtrakuts. See, the Rashtrakuts rose to power in the 8th century under Danti Durga. Underline this. He and his successor Krishna I consolidated the Rashtrakoot rule in the region and present-day Maharashtra. Malkhed, underline this, Malkhed near modern Sholapur in Maharashtra was the capital city. Now we will be talking about the famous temples that were built by the Rashtrakoot. Come to the last para, second line. The famous Kailash temple at Ellora and the rock-cut caves at Elephanta were carved during the reign of Rashtrakuts. Clear? Now come to other kingdoms. Yadavs of Devagiri. Bhilama founded the kingdom in the 12th century. Soon the Yadavs consolidated themselves in the region between Narmada and Godavari river. Kindly underline the area which they are defining, that is between Narmada and Godavari rivers. A flourishing trade made the kingdom rich and prosperous. In the 14th century, the Khalji rulers annexed their territories. Now you can see, as soon as one gets weaker, the other comes and annexes the territories. Clear? Now Chalukyas of Kalyani. The Chalukyas of Kalyani were also known as the later Chalukyas or the Western Chalukyas. The greatest ruler was Vikramanka. Underline this only. He and his successors built many temples at Aihole, Badami and Padakkal. Clear? Okay, now Kakityas of Warangal. The Kakityas ruled in the 12th and the 13th century. The kingdom lay between Godavari and Krishna river. Yes, why it is important, the Kakityas of Warangal? It came in the last year's question paper. What is the area defined for the rulers of the Kakityas of Warangal? So you have to mention between Godavari and Krishna river. Clear? Okay. Marco Polo tells us that, see, who was Marco Polo? Marco Polo was a traveler who came to India to know more about it, and also during the rule of Kakityas of Warangal. Rulers or followers of Shaivism, Jainism and Vaishnavism also flourished. The rulers patronized Sanskrit and Telugu. Now Hoslas of, what is it written? Who will tell me? What is the pronunciation of this? Hoslas of Dwara Samudra. Clear? Okay. The Hoslas ruled the region covered present-day Karnataka. The most powerful king was Vishnu Vardhan. Just underline this. Who was the most powerful kingdom? That's it. Don't worry, I will be providing with you a name of the following so that you can cover all the question answers, and also it becomes easy for you to remember. So don't worry about it. Just keep on underlining whatever I am saying and listen to what I am explaining. Clear? Okay. Now let's come to South India. Till now we have completed North India, Deccan, and now we'll come to South India. Just let me give you a quick revision. In North India, we talk about Tomars, Chauhans, Solankis, and the Ghaznavids, Ghurids, Muhammad Ghori, battles of Terrain, 2 battles of Terrain. Then we talk about Battle of Chandavar, and then also why Kannauj was so important. And in Deccan, we talked about Hoslas, we talked about Kakatyas, Rashtrakutas, and Yadavs. Clear? Now let's come to South India. We will be talking about the Pallavas, Pandyas and the Cholas. There were 3 powerful kingdoms in the south. These were Pallavas, Pandyas and the Cholas. Clear? Okay. Pallavas. You have read about the Pallavas in class 6. They became very powerful in the 7th century. 7th and 8th centuries. Their capital was the city of Kanchi. Underline this. Okay. Now Pandyas ruled the region around present-day Madurai, which was the capital. It was an important center for learning. Marco Polo visited the Pandyan kingdom. He has left a detailed account for his visit. Okay. Now coming to Cholas. Cholas established a powerful empire in South India. That is why they are known as Imperial Cholas. Because Cholas established a powerful empire in where? In South India. Yes, very good. And Tanjore was the capital. Clear? Now come to Rajaraj Chola. Rajaraj Chola, also called Rajaraj I, was a brilliant commander. He defeated the Pandyas and the Cheras. Now please underline this and remember this, that he was a brilliant commander and he defeated the Pandyas and the Cheras. Clear? Okay. Rajendra Chola. Rajendra Chola was Rajaraj's son, and he succeeded his father to the throne. His army defeated the Cheras, Chalukyas, and marched as far as north as modern-day West Bengal, where they defeated the Palas. After his victory, Rajendra Chola called himself Gangai Konda Chola, okay, which means one who has conquered places up to the river Ganga. It is Gangai Konda Chola. Clear? He also built a new capital near Tanjore and called it Gangai Konda Cholapuram. Okay. And then the successors of Rajendra Chola continued to fight against the neighboring kingdom. What they basically want to tell you is, amongst the Cholas, it was Rajendra Chola, son of Rajaraj I, who defeated all his opponent enemies, and he walked and his army marched till West Bengal. Clear? It means that he was one of the strongest and the powerful rulers of the Cholas. Clear? And also of the South India. Now there are some cultural achievements. The Cholas were great temple builders. Most of the temples were built in Dravidian style. The Brihadeshwar temple, just keep on underlining. The Brihadeshwar temple at Thanjavur is the finest example of Chola temple architecture. A question might come, please name one of the main example of Chola's temple architecture. Then you have to mention Brihadeshwara temple. Clear? Okay. Now sculpture. The Cholas also excelled at making images of gods and goddesses. These images were either of stone or bronze. And the bronze image of Lord Shiva is Nataraj, Lord of Dance. How many of you know about Lord of Dance, Nataraj? If you know, please mention in the WhatsApp. Okay, is one of the finest specimens of Chola art. Clear? Languages. The Chola period witnessed the growth of regional languages such as Tamil, Telugu, and Kannada, because we are talking about South India. So literary works are translated into these languages. Now coming to administration. The kingdom was divided into provinces called mandalams, looked after by governors. Each mandal was further divided into numerous valandus. Each valandu consisted of number of villages. The village was the lowest. Don't worry, I'll give you the the flow chart of the administration. Okay, so don't worry. Village assemblies. Local self-government was a special feature of Chola administration. Local self-government, which is present-day Panchayati Raj system that we say, that is known as local self-government. Villages enjoyed freedom in looking after their own affairs. Each village had two assemblies, the Ur and the Sabha. Underline Ur. You will get a question from it, Ur and Sabha. The former was the general assembly of the village. The latter was a gathering of all male adults of the village. These assemblies also called many sub-committees. Okay, now I will be talking about agrarian expansion in Tamil region and new philosophies in my part 3 of the video. Till then, keep sanitizing yourself and also stay home and stay safe. And yes, don't forget to study. Clear? Bye.